The Fury of Firestorm, issue 1, Jeff Lemire writing with RAFAEL DE LATORRE on the art. So Jeff Lemire can still write, apparently. It's just JSA that he can't write anymore, because this was really good. What's happening? I like the Firestorm book, Matt.
This is the most I've ever been into a Firestorm character, right? The way that he turned him into this golem that is walking around the city in Colorado, and it added this, like, the sinister sense that something bad is happening, right? You get introduced to this character that I wasn't familiar with. So then when they name drop that she's Firehawk, who is a compatriot of Ronnie Raymond Firestorm, I went, oh, okay. So we're doing this whole thing. And then just the way that it paced itself out, I read this and I read Absolute Green Lantern and then this back to back and went, oh, this is going to be a good week for comics. Because if the one book that I was dreading, which was Firestorm, because it's Firestorm again, ended up being something that I really enjoyed, we're in good hands for this week.
Hey, sometimes a character is just a character you don't like until the right creator puts the spin on it that you need to have for it to click with you. And I like this, because the whole way this book starts is it does the whole 7 days of like creation thing, right? Where day 1, Firestorm lands in this lake. Day 2, he walks into this town in Colorado. Day 3, he, forms, like, turns all the buildings into glass and chalk because he can do that because he's Firestorm, he can transmute stuff. And then, day 4, he turns all the people into this stuff as well. So he's basically just murdered this entire town, messes around with it, rests, and gets to day 7, and he's basically just sitting in like what used to be a town, and it's like a giant pit of lava. And it's like, okay, so that's the setup of the story. It's like, okay, why is he doing all this? He's like an evil Dr. Manhattan now. What's going on? It builds him as this big threat. He never says a word. He's just like this omnipotent, like, destroyer. That's all he is, and he's just testing science and stuff with a cold touch.
It's like he's a sentient weapon almost, right? He doesn't know why he's doing it, but he knows that he can. And I feel like that's a very good comparison for nuclear weaponry. And I feel like that's maybe what Lemire's trying to do here. Just with this opening, and like you said, it's what's left of a town, right? He's hovering over it, almost in like this kind of cross-legged yoga pose, and there's just like this pit of fire beneath him of destruction. And it kind of looks like footage from when they dropped the bomb, right? When they were testing stuff, and I was like, oh, okay. And then that's before we get into any of the cool character stuff that happens.
Yeah.
That's just within the first couple pages.
I mean, that's just the opening to just set up the story, and it's got all the atmosphere, it's got all the mystique, and then it's like, okay, we go to Pittsburgh and we meet this character, Lorraine Riley, if I can speak properly, and it's like, okay, I don't know who this is, but they established that she was a girlfriend of Ronnie Raymond's in the past, right? Who obviously is one half of Firestorm. So just in case you don't know who Firestorm is, Ronnie Raymond, Professor Stein, they fuse together. So when they come together to be Firestorm, it's Ronnie Raymond's body, but Professor Stein's kind of in his head talking to him the entire. And you kind of get glimpses of this later on. You kind of get this. So if you didn't know this going into this issue, I think the book does a good job of explaining it, even if you didn't know any of that.
It gets away with any of the stuff that I feel like when they've tried doing different things with Firestorm, they don't touch on it as much, which is good, because they do simplify it as much as we can.
Yeah.
But I've always thought of Firestorm as science fiction Captain Marvel or Shazam in that way, because they, instead of becoming a different person, right, that's still Billy Bats in the mind, when they fuse together, they're this different being, Yeah. And it's sure it might be Ronnie's body, but Professor Stein's walking him through the different calculations to transmute matter. And then when you think about it, how powerful this guy is, right, with the amount of stuff that he can do, you're just like, oh my god, like Firestorm is a walking danger.
So we go to Pittsburgh, we get introduced to Lorraine, and the military show up and say, hey, you're so-and-so, you're coming with us now. So it's like, okay, this feels like a science fiction movie. It feels like the start of Arrival. We need you, you're the linguist, come with us. Or it feels like the start of, any type of sci-fi movie where they have to go and get the expert in the field who can help with the situation that's going on. Sometimes it's a disaster movie, sometimes it's an aliens landed, whatever it is. And they take her, and we get kind of the backstory about who Firestorm is, and her history with him. And when they show her the footage of what happened in the town, she's like, oh, that's not Ronnie. Like, we broke up, but like, that's not him. He wouldn't do that. Something else is going on here. And they get to the town, and they send her in with a couple of guys in suits, which they believe these like hazmat suits they've made will deflect Firestorm's powers. And I'm like, okay, we'll see how that goes, but not well, it turns out. But she suits up into her outfit, which I don't even recognize, so I don't really know much about this character, but she looks all right. She looks cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to look her up right now. She hasn't been in that many stories, right? Like in the original run of Firestorm from 87 to 90, she has 12 appearances, you know? But I'm assuming from what I'm just reading here, she has very similar powers to Firestorm. Maybe not as powerful, but and it's just her as well, right? There's no shared entity with her.
Yeah, well, which I think is clear because she just sort of turns into her outfit on her own. She doesn't do anything with anyone else.
Yep.
So yeah, she walks into this town with these two guys in their sort of like almost astronaut style hazmat suits, and they're seeing the destruction. They're seeing the buildings of glass. They're seeing people turned into glass, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Ronnie would never do this." So when they get to Firestorm, and she's like, "Hey, Ronnie, it's me," and he just zaps one of the two guys, the red shirts. He just like disintegrates into nothing.
It's very you compared him to Dr. Manhattan earlier. It's very Dr. Manhattan.
It is, yeah.
Complete to the pose, and just like vaporizes him. And it's a really cool special sound effect too. It says Shrek.
Because
you know that sound.
She looks at him, tries to talk to him, and says, "Okay, that's not him. That's not Ronnie. It just isn't." And the other guy who's alive still, he's like, "Well, if it's not Ronnie, then where is he?" And that's when we go to the next page and we get the classic Silver Age looking art, this transition. And it's classic Firestorm with Professor Stein's like head, like a ghost, like almost like a thought bubble, talking to him. And it's just like classic stuff where he's fighting a villain. Was it
the hyena?
The hyena, right? Probably a classic Firestorm villain if I was to guess.
Yep. And if I had to guess.
They fight the hyena. He turns a bus into a cake and hits him with a cake, says a cheesy line about him being sweet, and then he's in a forest, and then he's looking up at the evil Firestorm in his mind. The art gets really dark and serious, and then that scene plays again where he's flying, he's talking to the Professor Stein. It's very Silver Age, and you can see that the exact same thing. It's like he's trapped in a loop, like in a hell loop, of just living this over and over again. But as this starts the second time, the panels like pull back, and then you see it's inside the eye, and then it pulls back further, and you can see it's inside the eye of the Firestorm that Lorraine is looking at. So it's this idea that Raymond, and maybe not Stein given the ending of the issue, but Raymond's trapped in there. Like, he is in there, but he's been trapped. Now, is this entity that's in control just kind of like Firestorm as a separate entity becoming sentient? Is it something else that's taken over? We don't know yet, but he's trapped in there somehow.
With what it does to Ronnie, right? In that darkness, when he says, "I no longer belong to you, Ronald Raymond. I belong to no one." I do feel like it's the Firestorm Matrix. It's become self-aware, right? And this is it becoming its own thing, and it needs Ronnie's body, right? So this is what it's doing. It's trapping him in like this mind loop. When Ronnie tries to get control, it puts him back into that, hey, we're back doing the old hits again.
Yeah, it's like a trick. It's like, hey, you're being a hero again, enjoy it. And I think what you're saying lines up with because out in the real world, Firestorm says to her, he says, "I am no one," which would maybe suggest that he is not a person, he is just simply Firestorm. So he zaps her a bunch, and she gets thrown out of the town. She lands next to the military tents that are on the outskirts, and they say, "We have to find Professor Stein." And the final page is you see Professor Stein burning his books and his notes. He's got like a big crazy beard. He's clearly a bit more frantic, and you're seeing a bit of paper, and this sort of lines up with everything we've been saying about Firestorm becoming its own thing. It just says on the paper, "Is it sentient?" which implies that there is a very unhumane entity that is now formed out of just the Firestorm Matrix, which is an interesting concept. It's very scary. It's like a scary sci-fi story, and I think that's the reason why this works, is that it feels like Firestorm, well, he's using stuff from lore, he's using this old girlfriend character, and he's clearly adhering to what Firestorm is, as far as I can tell. It's like, Firestorm's also enough of like a C-lister that they can kind of just let Lemire do crazy stuff with. Like, you know, yeah, you can go and ruin Firestorm. Go for it. Like, who cares? So, and I get there's 12 people who are like, we care about Firestorm history, but most of us don't care. So it's like, yeah, do your cool, like, weird sci-fi horror story about Firestorm becoming sentient and Raymond being trapped in his body. I'm into it.
Yeah. No, this felt like the kind of the first time that we read like Strange Adventures, right? Where like, I care about Adam Strange, or
even
right, because
I mean, it's another
pulpy thing,
Tom King story. But even like Mr. Miracle, like how invested in Mr. Miracle were we before that book came out?
No, right, and you know, and like I only brought up Strange Adventures because it's a character I kind of like, but with what he did and how he subverted things and told the story, and here how we're subverting things already in this first issue, right? Like that opening is like there's just a sense of dread throughout it, right, as you're reading it, and yeah, and then we haven't even really talked about De Latorre's art as well.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Like, we always
but like
we liked De Latorre on Penguin, right? And it was all these shadows, and it felt very noir and stuff. Here, most of it's stuff out in the open, and it looks just as good.
Yeah, well,
right?
it still has that shadowy quality, though, at least for most of it. Obviously, when it goes to the Silver Age stuff, the style completely changes, you know, at least in terms of the shading and the inking, to give it this old school, and colouring as well, but I don't know if he's doing his own colouring, so I didn't mention it. But, like, it completely changes style to this old school, idyllic kind of classic comic book, and that's the point, is that he's trapped in this happy memory in a loop. And then, like, the rest of it, like, because when he does break out of that a little bit and he's in the sort of dark forest talking to the Firestorm who sends him back into the dream, like, that stuff is, like, you know, a horror movie. And then you've got all the stuff in the real world just feeling like this really eerie kind of, like, yeah, some sort of, like, alien atomic bomb went off in this town and we're investigating it now. It's got that vibe. Yeah, the art's phenomenal. Yeah. Like, somehow Fury of Firestorm ended up in the runaway #1 of the month. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
It's so crazy. So, like, again, when I was looking for stuff to read on Wednesday, I was like, oh, I'll just get this out of the way. Right? Like, I read Absolute. That was the thing. Like, I'm sitting there on my lunch, and I'm like, I'm gonna read this, and I'm like, I have time. I can get another one in. If I don't, and I was almost late getting up because I needed to finish Firestorm, which I can't believe. You know, so yeah, and I do think it's funny because I said the same thing. I was like, oh, Lemire still has a fastball. He's just throwing junk pitches for Justice Society. But, you know, I can't believe I'm hooked into a Firestorm book. Like, every iteration of Firestorm I've tried, you know, from what was it? After Infinite Crisis, they tried to do something from 52.
Yeah.
And then we had New 52 and stuff, and it's just nothing ever stuck with me.
Yeah, because it was Gail Simone in the New 52, if I remember right. I mean, I've never read or tried the you know, that well, I don't know if it's the original, but the late 80s post-crisis series that you brought up. Like, I've never tried. Maybe that one is good. Maybe that one has its fans, and maybe they'll be mad about some of this stuff because it's like doing all, you know, stuff that doesn't feel adhering to their classic era. But honestly, for most people, Firestorm is just such a weird, like, C-list character who shows up every so often and never really has anything worth paying attention to, that I think this is going to really land with and get a lot of new Firestorm people, you know, interested.
It feels, again, like you brought up the Tom King kind of books, but also, like, when they give Ram V a character, they're just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just let it go. And then it's like, now you're turning me into a fan of those characters. It's like when they gave him New Gods. And it's just like, okay, well, now I like a lot of these characters. Or even, so now I'm invested.
I would say the more direct comparison is Resurrection Man. Like, how many people were caring about Resurrection Man before that? I'm sure I'm somewhere for sure, but, you know, in high numbers, I don't know.
No, but here, and then the cliffhanger, like, that they're hanging us on is Professor Stein burning all of his stuff. right? And he's looking like Ted Kaczynski hiding in the shed.
Hey, he looks terrified.
You know?
He looks like he's a hermit because he's terrified of this Firestorm sentient being that's kicking about now.
God. And now Firehawk is a character that I have to research. So I think she's pretty cool. You know, the limited interaction that we've had with her.
I mean, I think her reaction to being summoned by the military, her belief that Ronnie's innocent and that something else is going on, it makes her seem smart. It makes her seem like she knows what she's talking about. So even though it's not a lot, you get a lot of sense of like her intelligence, at least in this first issue.
Well, and there seems like there's a determination now too, right? 'Cause she's like, okay, whatever that was, we're in over our head. And I'm also wondering what other characters that we're going to get to, you know, to show up in here, because something like Firestorm, that's a big deal. You know, like he's the nuclear man. He can do all those different things. I remember there was a JLA Justice Society book with the 7 Deadly Sins. Why am I blanking on the title? But I remember at one point Firestorm saves Sand from a villain by turning him into glass and then transmuting him back, because he realized he was made of sand. He can just do that quick chemical thing. And I was like, no one's bothered that Firestorm can just do this to people? Like the rest of the Justice League and Justice Society were like, yeah, no, you're cool to wander around, you know? But yeah, so the way that Lemire's treating him here, like this, again, like this golem, right? There's no weight to him. He's just kind of aimlessly wandering, you know? And when you look back at the issue, after you already know where it's going to go, you're just like, oh, okay, it is kind of a monster story now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say aimlessly. It feels like he's got a little bit more of a ominous curiosity. Like it doesn't,
curiosity.
Like I don't think it's like he's stumbling about kind of thing. It's not like that. It's more like he's, you know, walking in, looking around, and going, I'm going to do whatever I want because I can.
Yeah. So, but yeah, big win on this week. This is what I was hinting at about a good week for comics. When your Firestorm book ends up getting this rave reviews, DC's doing something good.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah, art's phenomenal. Engaged in the story. Obviously, we're going to be on for issue 2. So, Matt, what are you giving Fury of Firestorm issue 1?
Are you ready for this? I'm giving Firestorm a 9.
I am also giving it a 9.
Yeah.
Excellent. So,
hey,
Lemire still got it. Again, he's like Wade. They have their hits and then they also have their misses that are just.
Yeah, but it's like when they miss, they completely miss. Yeah, like it's not even close, right? Like it's again, I'm gonna use another baseball analogy here. It's like a completely wild pitch that goes into the stands. And you're just like, oh, okay, maybe it's time for retirement papers. And then you're like, oh no, you can still throw heat when you want to, you know? And here it is. And again, we've said it with other artists and writers. If they have to keep doing a JSA, right, or a World's Finest to get their bad ideas out, so we can have something like Fury of Firestorm, by all means, because I will gladly read this and not Justice Society.